Hello everyone. Before this video starts, I just want to let you guys know of a few things. First of all, the stories that you will be hearing are from the same person or same people from the Bass Pro Shop that I did a story on a while back. So there won't be any other places mentioned. They will mainly be of the Bass Pro Shop. Second of all, the manager told me that it was okay for me to put everyone else's stories, because apparently he told me that other people have encountered deathaknight and apparently other meta demons, as they're called. Third of all, this is the first scary stories video that I've done since oh god, it's been quite a while. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoy it. Please make sure to do anything with the channel, and let us begin. So what happened to me was that I was sitting in my office doing manager stuff. Same thing as usual ever since the event happened, which was about like 2 years ago. So, yeah. As I was sitting in my office, I got the feeling of being watched. I didn't know from where, but it felt like straight ahead, at the door. I couldn't figure out what the feeling meant or something. That wasn't until one of the members from the loading dock called up to me, and it was Emma. Emma is the newest member of the loading dock crew. She told me that she thought that she saw someone outside the loading dock gate over by one of the trucks. I was confused. I asked her who the figure was. She said that she didn't know, but that it was a black hooded figure with spiked bracelets from what she could see. And when she saw him, she walked up to him, but about a foot away, smelled burning off of him. I froze. I dropped the walkie on the floor. I got out of my chair and I went up against the wall. I was in complete shock. I then thought to myself, wait, no, he can't be back. Emma, meanwhile, during my complete shock, kept asking me if I was alright and what was going on. I then bolted out of my door, down to the loading dock, and I met up with Emma. I told her to never, ever go near that black hooded figure, ever again. She asked me why, and I told her about what had happened 2 years earlier. She froze at the words. She really didn't know what to say. The last thing that I told her before I walked away was that you must be careful around him. You never know when he'll strike to kill. She understood what I said and got back to her work. As I was getting back to my office, I felt that feeling of being watched again. Then, as I was ascending the stairs, I heard my door slam shut. That freaked me out. I ran up the stairs, got into the room, and there was no one in there. Or at least not that I could see. But As I closed the door and sat down, that's when the knocking began. Knocking at my door. I asked who it was, and there was no one there. So I walked up to the peephole in the door. By God, it was him. I fell back almost on my ass, up against my desk, until the door opened, and he looked at me, face to face. He still looked the same. I asked him why he was back. He said nothing. The only thing they did was point his finger at me. His long-nailed finger pointing at me with his red eyes feeding through my flesh into my soul. He put down his finger, and without lifting a limb, shut the door. I then called everyone in the shop to keep an eye out for Deathaknight, because apparently he had returned. I didn't get much of a report after that, but I just couldn't understand how he was back. I took a bit of some time off after that, like a week or so, and Jeremy, who was my second in command at the time, was the manager for that week. Business was running smoothly when I got back, but I will never forget what happened. Never. I was doing my business down the loading dock, bringing in products from the moving trucks, and cataloging to see what was there. Everything seemed to be going fine. But I started to notice that every once in a while, I would see a black hooded figure on the other side of whichever aisle I would be in. But as soon as I would get close to them, they would just dart away. And I would follow them into the next aisle, and again, they would be on the exact opposite end of the hall. I kept doing this for like 5, maybe 6 minutes, and I suddenly had enough of it. I then shouted out to the person, "Sir, you should leave this premises. You're not really allowed to be back here." No response. Just as I figured. People like this always seem to not give a response when I would shout out to them. It wasn't until I headed into a dead-end part of the area that I was in, which happened to be the storage area of the loading dock, did I turn around, and I saw that same figure looking up at me. He was no normal human. He had red eyes. What I can only describe was hellfire eyes. Red as the devil himself. And all that I could hear from him was his breathing. That was all I could hear, until he started walking towards me, slowly but menacingly. He then got a foot away from me. He then reach out his arm and grab at my chest. He lifted me up against the wall, and He then started fucking laughing. In my struggling voice, I asked him who he was and what he wanted. He then said in a dark voice, "I've been here before. You're new. I will leave you be for now. But I will not be gone for long." He let me go, and I fell to the ground, hurting my ass a little bit. He looked down at me, pointed his finger at me, and then he put his thumb by his neck and made a death motion with it. He turned around, walked into the light from the dead end, turned back, and he said to me again, "I'll see you in hell, Carly." And suddenly a hellish vortex opened up beneath him, and while he was descending into the portal to hell, he was demonically laughing all the while. I was frozen. I had never been so scared in my life. I ran all the way back to my manager's office, and I told him what happened. He brought me in, and he asked me to describe what happened. I told him everything. He then changed positions to me. I would now be setting up products wherever they would need to be. I never went back to that dark, dead end. Because I was eventually switched back to my old job. But I never went back to that dead end again. I was at my position by my clerking desk when doing my usual stuff. You know, the kind of thing that store clerks would be doing. Passing stuff around through the beeping projector thing, whatever the hell it was. Putting the products that people were buying into bags. The usual. Till one day, I had a weird customer walk up. He had nothing. I asked him why he didn't have anything, and that he could only get to me if he had something. But then he pulled something out. It wasn't anything that we had. It was it was kind of like a business card, kind of. You know, the kind of cards that businesses would hand out to their customers. But instead of it having like a business thing to it, it only said one word. And before I could even pick it up, the figure looked up at me. Red eyes was all I could see in the void of darkness that which was covering his face because of the hood that he had on. I froze for like a minute, looking at this horrifying figure that lay before me. I asked him who he was. He said nothing. He then grabbed me by the neck and pulled me towards him. Then he removed his hood, and I could see what he really was. He was the same fucking demon that had attacked Malcolm 2 years earlier. The demon then told me that I was new and that he would be back to get me as well, along with anyone else that he knew was new. He let go of me, turned to his right, and walked out the door. I told Roger that I wanted to take the rest of the week off. Malcolm. I told Malcolm that I wanted to take the rest of the week off. He asked me why, and I told him that I didn't want to deal with the demon that was now haunting this place much more this week. I didn't quit, but I did take the rest of the week off. When I came back, I never saw the demon again. But I will never forget that. You know what the creepiest thing about this is? I still have that fucking card. I'm a usual janitor. Cleaning up messes, things that janitors usually did. But I had a terrifying encounter one day while I was doing my night shift. Everyone else except me, Malcolm, Claire, and I forget who else was there. We're doing our night shifts. Malcolm doing his night manager shifts. Claire checking and cataloging products that were in that we would set out in the morning. And me doing my thing. Of course. It's not that I don't like being the janitor, but it's so goddamn boring. All that you do is just clean up messes and walk around the place. That's really all that you ever do. But with me, I switched over after I had this encounter. So, as I was making my way back to the janitor's closet to set away my stuff because I was about 5 minutes away from my shift ending, I thought I could see out of the corner of my eye red lights. I thought that maybe they were some product that maybe got lit, but when I turned, they were gone. This happened like 2 or 3 other times as I was making my way back to the janitor's closet. Out of the corner of my eye, every one of those times, red lights for no reason, and when I would turn, they would be gone. That's when I heard the knocking on doors and walls and shelves and stuff like that. I called out to whoever it was, "Who's there? It's past closing. You need to leave." I'm guessing that Malcolm heard me because I was near his office. Because when I looked up at the office, I saw him at the window, and he just looked down at me. He then shut the blinds and went back to his office. I didn't really quite mind Malcolm. He was an okay guy, though tad bit paranoid a little bit. I always asked him why he was so paranoid. He never told me. But after this encounter, I think I found out why he was so paranoid. I continued to hear the knocking over and over. Every single step that I would make, I heard the knocking. It was like it was following me all the goddamn way. That wasn't until I finally turned around a foot away from the door did I see something horrifying. At the other end of where I was was a dark, hooded figure with red eyes. The same red lights that I had seen earlier. Suddenly, I don't even think it's even humanly possible, but this fucking guy ran so fast up to me, I almost had a heart attack. He then punched me in the face, and I fell to the ground, almost passing out and in a coma. But as I did, I looked up, and I saw the figure. I happened to have a flashlight on me, and I shined it up at him. The face that I saw was the most horrifying face that I would ever see on any person that I would ever meet. Red eyes, red as the devil, dark, like stone gray skin, sharp teeth, sharp as rocks, and he had a scar, a stitched up scar down his left eye, though from my perspective it would be his right. I looked up in horror at this figure. I couldn't even say a thing. He then pinned me down with one of his hands. His claws, they were so long and sharp, I could almost feel them digging into my skin. It was so painful. I could not take it. I pushed him off me, and he just stood up, not even falling to the ground. I ran away as fast as I can, and I called out for Malcolm. He came out of his office, saw me being chased by the figure, and told me to get up to him as quickly as possible before he would catch me and possibly kill me. When I got in, I didn't hear anyone coming, but the last sound I heard of him were 3 knocks at the door. After that, silence. I then shouted at Malcolm what the fuck was going on. He then finally told me why he was so paranoid. After he had told me why he was so paranoid, I never wanted to work the night shift ever again. Now I work the day shift, which is not that bad. But every time I head back to my janitor's closet before my shift ends, I now turn behind me, and I always expect to see that dark hooded figure looking at me with those red eyes. I was working in one of the loading dock areas along with Claire. Me and her worked good together, though Claire seemed to be a bit quiet lately. I would ask her why, and she just said that, she just said nothing, and that she was fine and nothing was going wrong. I kind of doubted that a little bit, but I didn't want to get her on her privacy. Besides, it wasn't my place to interrupt her life. I'm not that kind of person. Anyway, as I was heading out to grab the next set of products that were being shipped in, I felt like I was being watched from over by the truck. I looked at the truck, but there was nothing there. As I was getting close to the truck, the feeling got stronger, but also did some sort of an odor, like a dead odor. It was very strong when I entered the truck. That wasn't until I noticed something. The shipment that was coming in was 10 crates of fishing poles. I know. We're a big Bass Pro Shop. I think Malcolm has mentioned that. Instead, there were 9. And where the 10th one should have been was a box. A wooden box. As I walked in, deeper and deeper into the truck, the smell got stronger. It had to have been what was in that box. As I got right up to the box, I thought I heard what sounded like footsteps at the entrance of the truck. I didn't move. I didn't want to know what was at the entrance. It could have been him for all I know. There was a crowbar right next to the box for some reason. Usually the shipping people don't really leave anything to be able to open these things. Usually we have to be the ones to open them ourselves, because we always seem to have crowbars on us, which this time I had forgotten, but that's not the point. I grabbed the crowbar, which looked like it had been used. Well, I mean, of course, it's a shipment crowbar. As soon as I got the lid off, I saw the pure horror that lay out before me in that fucking box. 2 or 3 dead fucking bodies. They were so strewn and mutilated. I almost vomited right there on them. I stepped backwards, and suddenly I felt 2 hands behind me on my shoulders. I froze in pure horror. I then heard a familiar voice say to me, "You found the killing. You're a smart little girl now, aren't you? Now, why don't you go run along? Or else I will kill you right here, right now." The figure let go, and he walked out. I turned around almost instantly and shouted at him, "You bastard! You'll pay for this!" He turned around at me, unhooded himself, and then pointed at me. "I've already paid enough. I've paid the price for selling my soul to the devil." He walked out, and he disappeared. I took out my phone and I took a picture of the carnage that lay inside. I didn't want to post this picture, so that's kind of why there's not a picture on screen right now. It was because I was too afraid to show everyone what I had seen. I walked out of there. Still took the shipment, but I left that fucking box in there, with the lid off and with the crowbar right by it. You know what I did after I walked out? I called the fucking police. They got here in like 5 minutes. I took them to the truck. And thank God the box was still there. But the lid and the crowbar were gone. Where had they gone? I had no idea. But the creepiest thing was that when me and an officer walked up to the box, there were only 2 bodies. Where was the third? That wasn't until we looked closely at the ground of the truck and noticed blood trails leading out of the truck and actually going inside the building. He had come back and taken one of the bodies. I told the cop everything that had happened. He believed me without a doubt. The officer then took me to Malcolm, and he told me what happened. This encounter led to a 5-day investigation of the place. I don't know if this got to the news, but if it did, God forbid I see him again. I never went by trucks again, or at least the shipment trucks. I'm always afraid that every time I would go to a truck, that I would see a box full of dead bodies.